Morning! It's a very exciting day today. You can probably see from the background I've got a few of my absolute treasured Jonsered's Swedish chainsaws, and it's not often I feel in the mood to pull out. Actually, there's lots more that could be pulled out as well, but I brought out a little selection, but only to highlight a saw that I have behind me, which has been taken so long to finish. So what do we have out here today? We have in size order the Spectacular Racket 60, which mid-60s saw, 56cc, beautiful. Then I have a original Jonsered 75. I have a version of the 751. I have, again, late 60s saws, beautiful, 52mm piston. What do we got here? Jonsered 80, a couple of different variations of my Jonsered 80s, power saw, 80cc's, and 52mm pistons, spectacular. Jonsered 801, very similar, but just a slight variation on the 80. In the back is an unusual creature. That's the Jonsered XD, which is that's a 1950s saw. So 1950s saw. That's a nominal. Is that a 5240? Shares the same piston size, but yeah, 85 cc's with a fuel injection system. So I know people talk about the new steel, the MS, this 500 injection. In the late 50s, Jonsereds were already running an injection system. And then behind me I have what some people say is the most beautiful chainsaw in the world. This is the Jonsered's XF thumping piston, 56mm. They're 45 or 44 stroke. I think they're 45mm stroke. I can't remember that. 5645, I think. Nominal 110 cc's. Made from approximately 1960, and just an absolute thing of beauty to behold. Incredibly, these have been, so I have 3 of the XFs, and they are so difficult to complete and to make perfect, or to make as perfect as you can, to get them running nicely, because they have a few really unusual fitment parts. And so the tank vent and breather assembly has a non-return valve in it, and the Jonsered's fuel pickup line, this almost like corrugated effect fuel line, has a large brass concaved tank weight on the inlet. Then it has this very strange diaphragm non-return valve above the tank, feeding the HL98A, and they run, like so many of the Jonsereds, this runs a Stepha coil ignition system, twin coil, Italian, temperamental when they've gone wrong. So I have been chasing finishing this for approximately 2 years, and I'm good with electrics. So the electrics, after I picked up a replacement secondary ignition coil from Italy, which took a long time, that took months and months to source. So ignition coil, great then spark, and I have been looking for her. You'll often see lots of the vintage saws of this period will have a multi-fitment guide bar fitted, and so, you know, where they would fit perhaps a lot of European and American saws. So they're multiple drilled, square fitments, round, oiler set forward of the stud and after, etc. of the chain tensioning hole. But I wanted one of the 76G bars, which is a period bar for the Jonsered, and so I had got hold of this one very recently. So it now has a 76-910 the perfect bar for this saw. She has a brand new vintage 404 fitment, full chisel chain, just sets this saw off just spectacularly. 2 mint condition chain guide plates, a mint condition felling spike, all with John Seard fitment nuts and bolts. But the shopping list for this girl was really ridiculous and immense, and there was a crack in the air filter, so I had a replacement air filter and housing arrive. Perfect, again, all John Seard. Replacement fuel cap with a vent, and then even when I had a spark, she just wouldn't run. She would not run. Would start, then would completely lean out, would rev, then she would die, and that's when you start to chase your tail. So it was very fortunate, a fantastic collector of John Seard saws, and I managed to buy, in fact there's several bits of information there as well. I managed to buy a matched reed block with a reconditioned HL98A Tillotson carburettor. Apparently, I don't know if it's important because I haven't worked on enough, but the reed block was set up with that carburettor prior to coming to me. I managed to also buy a tank non-return valve with a John Seard fuel pipe with a weight, and what else has she had? Well, that's probably all of it. And then the net result was, upon fitting the reed block with the HL98A, to make sure that ignition switch is off, this engine was already fantastic compression, but the missing ingredients, the last little bits to make her work, were the reed manifold with a properly, really beautiful condition carburettor setup, and that meant then that this girl, let's get that off, amazing engine. Oh. So to say she's been a labour of love to get her to that point where she will now just start, come off the top end of the revs, back to a thumping steady idle, has been so difficult, and really interesting as well, the importance of the non-return valve on the tank vent. So, and I had experimented with other John Seard fuel tank fitments because they share the same dimensions in footprint, even on some later saws, but they just don't have the same, they don't have a non-return valve set up. And so I put an inline non-return valve, but none of that actually made this girl run. But now with the carburetor, the reed valves and the non-return valve, she's just fantastic. When she's been run like this, she probably would just start straight to idle. Actually forgetting two other things she had as well, which was all cosmetic, but the devil's in the detail, as they say. In fact, I've only taken liberties with the finish on this saw in just one or two areas. So she has the correct John Sears pull start handle with a little metal insert there with a little tortuous path for the pull cord to go through. All John Sears. Replacement rubber boots on the flywheel openings to set the points up, and a replacement rubber boot for the a rubber boot for the top of the engine cover that seals off where the spark plug cap goes in. And I think that is everything. So there she is, guys. I hope that's nice to see. A few people have messaged, they've seen on a couple of the vids I think they've seen one or two of these in the background. So here she is then. This is one of my finished John Sears XFs, and just a staggering piece of history. So from 1960 up to 62 years old, and well, just such an amazing engine. Gorgeous idle. Obviously I've never cut with this saw, she's just never been in the position, and but now she's finished with this period bar with the 404 wow, spectacular chain, vintage chain, 404. The length of the teeth is just spectacular. There she is, a real work of art. And there she is then, back in with a few of her period brothers and sisters. Professional saw in their day. Even back then they had, on the inside, on the right hand side of the carburettor from the back, a little adjustable screw for the chain oiler. This gorgeous little brass plunger for oiling the chain manually. Oh, and the only indulgence I've taken on the saw, there's still the correct fitment, which is the side cover countersunk screws for the pull start housing. They tend to get really badly marked, and so I bought for them, they're still countersunk, they're still raised top countersunk, slotted, so completely original in terms of size and fitment, but they're all stainless steel instead, just to add to the look. I'll show it running once more. You can tell it's still a bit of a novelty for me, this. I love running this engine. So she's been a lot of work, but she's been worth every single hour that's been spent on her. Guys, thanks for watching. Take care.